been doing a lot of forecasting on what types of impacts sea level rise may have on the area, and according to a lot of those projections, this coastal sites like Robinson Preserve are projected to be completely underwater. So if you look to your left, you can kind of see one of the ways that we're working to combat that. If you notice, that is quite a bit higher in elevation than even the trail that we're on right now. So it's amazing to me that 10 years ago when I started working here, this was my very first day on the job, was riding in the back of the truck around Robinson when we were trying to select a contractor to do the earthwork, and we really were thinking about restoring it to coastal. Now, coastal wetlands. Now we're looking more at coastal uplands communities with that idea that gradually over time, depending upon what kind of an impact we have from sea level rise, this, as high as this mound that we're building here that will initially be coastal uplands, will eventually turn into the salt marsh and the salt terns you have over on the right-hand side of the vehicle. So that's one of the ways we're working on dealing with climate change. We are really trying to plan any future parks and preserves that we have that we're putting in. We're really working at making sure that there are elements in those sites that are prepared for any type of impacts from changes like that. And it's amazing to me too, because when we were planning Robinson Preserve Phase 1, this little area right here was our little uplands. And now we're like, no, let's just go ahead and raise that up like 10 feet. Just to be on the same side. Again, talking about that community impact, volunteers were a huge part from right around where we came around the bend to the bridge that we're going to go over in a few minutes. We had over 100,000 volunteers out here planting over 1 million plants for about a year before the preserve was open. Those volunteers did everything from coming out in the wagon to plant to actually launching at the kayak launch, coming down and planting plants on the islands that you see in the water. So we had everything from moms and dads with their preschoolers to my favorite group, which was engineers from GE, which they planted everything in proper rows. It was perfect. Yeah, there's an area, you can't really see it anymore, but there used to be an area out here in the seagrass beds where everything was perfectly spaced. It was fantastic. And I used to point out like, oh, those were my engineers. They were very precise. They were the only group I've ever had that I've been able to say, please put these plants on 10-foot centers, and boy, they were 10-foot centers. But it was amazing to me because normally when we have volunteer projects, you know, we'll get Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, but this site was so unique because we started with those sneak peek tours and we really worked hard to engage the community, and the entire community came out, and they still continue to do so. So it's not like this is one of those sites where we do an education program here and there. When we ask for volunteers, we're looking at volunteer work days that will have frequently with 50 to 100 people. We actually usually have to cap it at 100 because that's like that's a lot of people, and so we usually kind of end it there. We're rolling into our what I like to call our old upland area. So in Florida, how many of you are not from Florida? Okay. Oh, yay, better. So you're on a mountain. This is a mountain for us. Everyone say ooh. Ah. Yeah, this is really exciting. No, so in Florida, really, our plant communities change dramatically, and it's a little hard to tell, maybe, right now, because the mounds of dirt are pretty exciting. But the plants that we're going by are all coastal upland. I can tap right here, make that be lovely. And the warblers love it. They're a really good little clue. We've got some calm warblers over there. They're a really good little clue that this is kind of more of an upland fringe here. But some of the plants too. We've got some wax myrtle. We've got pines popping up in there. We've got saltbush. And so that you all know, when we bring groups out here, we always have examples of these plants that we like to pass around and showcase to them. For our purposes as ecotourism providers, when we bring folks out that aren't from the area, we really like to kind of juxtapose this versus literally 100 feet that way, the changing in the habitat. Because in Florida, inches make a huge difference. And a lot of times folks don't realize that just that tiny little bit of grading that they might do in their yard or in their neighborhood can make a big impact. The other thing that's really neat that I wanted to draw your attention to, was some further restoration work that we're doing. The big shell piles over there, those are all pieces of shell that we brought in to make oyster bags. So we have actually our last volunteer event out here, we had 80 people, and we convinced them to shovel that into big tubes, PVC tubes, that had a bag on the end of it. And they made bags that were about this big and that wide and super heavy. And yet for some reason, they were super happy to hang out here with us for about 3 hours and carry them. And we had about, I think they made about 1,000 bags all stacked up. Now, where did those bags go? Well, the waterway that we just came by will be installing them in there. And one of the reasons why we're doing that is because we're trying to think broader than just the land habitat. We really want to make sure that we're also building habitat for our aquatic resources too. And in Florida, we have a lot of soft bottom, and it's great we have seagrass beds that are really high producers, but we also want to start adding in some hard bottom